Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Moa, aka Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today we are gonna try 3 different whiskies from the Spirit of Yorkshire distillery, also called the Filey Bay whiskies. We're gonna try the Filey Bay Flagship, the Peated cask, and the Spirit of Yorkshire, what's it called? The Yorkshire Day 2021. And I've only had a tiny little sip, because I did a little live stream with them the other day, but now this will give me a little bit more time to kind of try them and analyze them a little further. The reason I'm trying the Flagship again, because I've tried it before and I've reviewed some of their whiskies before as well, is just to kind of be able to compare them to the other two. And I haven't tried any of them before. So the Flagship sits at 46% ABV and it is their kind of ex-bourbon cask style whiskey. They have also their peated finish, which sits at 46 as well, but then the Yorkshire Day 2021 sits at 55%. And the kind of difference between them and the Flagship is that the peated finish has been primarily matured in first full ex-bourbon before being moved to peated casks from Scotland's west coast, and the Yorkshire Day release is higher in ABV, and it also has a blend of casks from both Oloroso sherry butts and bourbon casks. So yes, we're going to try the Flagship first. I think, yeah, surely the Spirit of Yorkshire distillery is the English distillery I've tried most whiskies from, and they tend to have this kind of fruity, lighter style, so if you're into that, that's a good one to check out. Yeah, and the Flagship is straight away pears for me on the nose. Maybe a little bit of orange peel, but quite like springtime fruits. A little bit floral, a little bit of grass. And yeah, Spirit of Yorkshire is of course an English single malt distillery located in Yorkshire. I really want to go because it looks like a stunning location, and I think they first fired up their stills in 2016. Let's have a little sip. Sláinte Skål. Yeah, it's that kind of grassy fruitiness on the palate for me in the Flagship. It has a little bit of wood, a little bit of grassiness, quite a fresh, that kind of springtime fruity tones as well. And on 46, it's quite a nice strength for it. It doesn't feel too young and sharp, in my opinion, but it also has this kind of youthful, alive character to it. So let's move on to the peated finish. This is one of those that's interesting because I know there's a peated finish. I'm immediately looking for the smoke. It almost has a dark tone that makes me think of chocolate. And a fruitiness that is a little bit more autumnal, if that makes sense. I think it's just a darker character, like purple fruits, maybe like plums, or maybe a little bit more like baked fruits. Not getting a lot of smoke on the nose, but it does have, it's definitely there. I can definitely get it, and it feels like this kind of woody bonfire smoke. I don't think either of them is kind of overpowering the others. It's quite a nice balance. It's definitely not one that is bursting with smoke, but it's quite interesting, these ones, where you have a little bit of smoke but you also have this kind of fruitiness and darker character that meets it. So let's have a little taste. Sláinte Skål. Interesting. Straight away on the palate, this whiskey feels quite oily and viscous, and definitely more of a character of the smoke on the palate than on the nose. I think if you'd given this to me blind, I would definitely guess that it's a peated whiskey and not a peated cask finish. because the smoke is definitely relatively big, and it's quite sweet. It's like a sweet bonfire smoke. It's quite oily. How to describe that? Yeah, sweet and oily I think is a good way to describe the smoke. But it also has the kind of fruity tones. That it doesn't feel so autumnal on the palates, more on the nose. Definitely more on the nose, and now it also has a grain note to it. I'm gonna have a little comparison to the Flagship. The Flagship's definitely more like springtime for me. A little bit more grassy, but also more like fresh fruits. But definitely have similar tones underneath, like the character of the spirit that is coming through, that kind of oiliness. Like, it's more of a flavour in the Flagship than the texture. Come back to that one in a second and move on to the Yorkshire Day 2021. This one's definitely more sherried in character. Not very sharp on the nose though. They say it was 55. So for being 55, compared to the others, it's not like it's overpowering and really like burning your nose. Yeah, those kind of classic Oloroso characters is coming through. It doesn't feel too woody or dry. It's a nice balance of being a little bit charred, a little bit that kind of dried fruits. Like, yeah, traditional Oloroso character. And when I say it's not too dry, it definitely has a dry touch to the aromas. And I know dry is a sensation, but it's like Oloroso is naturally dry, so you are bound to get that with the fruits coming through. But it doesn't feel like when you eat cinnamon and everything feels super dry. A good level of dry, I would say. But let's have a sip. Sláinte. They all in their texture actually has this kind of thicker note about them. This one has good amounts of spice, kind of cinnamony spice. And the Oloroso character coming through. It's slightly more dry on the palate than it feels on the nose, but it's not too much, it's not overpowering. I might want to add some water to this just because that burning spice is quite sharp, but just in like a really spicy way, instead of being the alcohol burn. So I do want to add some water and just see what happens. But I do need to go get some water so that we can do that. And here we go. My little Luigi Bormioli glass will be with our water today. Just add a tiny bit more to see what happens. What are you? Sesame seed? Don't know why that's there. It does have a lovely finish, this kind of sherried warmth. Interesting. The nose turns a bit more floral with the water. And almost a little bit more soap-esque, like a very well-scented soap with that floral note. A nicer level of spice, I would say. Holds up to the water well. Because it still has spice to it, and that's one of the first things you're getting. But it's not as sharp anymore. It is interesting because all these three have this oiliness that really clings to your palate. And it's like, that's the distillery character because it's quite even throughout them all. I'll go back to the Flagship one more time. Yeah, it's quite peary for me today, this Flagship one. Pear and grass is the Flagship for me today. It's quite interesting because I think that is one of my favourite ones from the previous ones. Oh, actually, now I'm not sure because I think I have the second release, which is a predecessor to the Flagship. I love the nose and the peated finish. It's a bit like if you ever make like caramel cornflake snack things, a little bit like that. Or like caramel popcorn. Less of the smoke now, but it might just be that the alcohol in my system is drowning out the smoke. And I'm gonna have to pick a favourite as well. The Yorkshire peated finish makes me think a bit of the Cornwall peated cask, which I really enjoyed when I tried that. I would love to compare them. I'll need to have a look and see if I can dig out my sample of it. And finally, let's try the Yorkshire Day. Definitely a nice sherried character that isn't too much. I am going to go back to the peated cask just one more time. I think the peated cask is my favourite this time around. I just like the balance of the peat, that kind of bonfire woody peat, and the fruity viscous character. They hold up really well, and because it has that oily character, the base spirit, I think it can hold up to the smoke. And I would also say that this release is peatier than what I was anticipated. So initially I thought it was going to be a little bit of an not balanced up enough, because the Spirit Yorkshire for me tends to be quite fruity and light. But I think that kind of viscous, oily character of it holds up really nice to it. So yeah, the peated cask is my finish. The peated finish is my favourite today. And yeah, I'd love to hear if you have tried any Filey Bay whiskies from the Spirit of Yorkshire. Let me know in the comments below which one's your favourite. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, please consider maybe leaving a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Or if you would consider using my affiliate links the next time you're shopping with either Master Malt, the Whisky Exchange, or the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. I put all those links in the description here below as well. As usual, I've forgotten to tell you about these retail prices. I think the Flagship retails at £55, the peated finish at £60, and the Yorkshire Day, I don't know if it's still around because it's a limited release, was retailing at £85. And of course, finally, I want to say a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. I'm so grateful that I have your support. But I hope you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video. Sláinte Skål!